folks, welcome back to the channel. Happy Catty Crypto here, and let's just dive straight into it. So currently across the board, what you've got going on is the accusations now being thrown from, JWAMB did it all to, it was all Sam Bankman-Fried. So what I want to kind of speak to people about is this issue we have currently of an article coming out and then it being treated as truth, law. It's 100% right. They have to be right. This is what happened, and this is how it is. And it's not always like that. And it's being shown more and more as time goes on how these kind of higher powers that be conduct themselves. Because when the crash initially first happened, the blame was specifically on TFL and TFL only. You had people like Fatman who were, soul bound to destroy what was left without any actual substantial evidence to back that up. Now, I always like to say to people, wait for a correct kind of audit, because they will arrive and someone will eventually look into the whole issue around the crash, what led to the crash and what caused the crash. For now, we've had an audit to prove that TFL tried to defend the peg, and that's what counts. So my issues I have currently with the TFL situation as to what happened with the crash is in the second part of the coinage interview, JWAMB is asked whether, if the person interviewing states, if someone came into my house, created chaos and stuff, they would want to know who did that. But JWAMB didn't really seem too interested in chasing or pursuing that. Whether he is or not, that's a different kind of thing. And obviously you don't give off everything in an interview. But what I want to say to people is, before they start going crazy, driving this further than it is to actually wait for some substantial evidence or audits to come forward to prove that FTX themselves, along with the Alameda funds and all of the loaning, the borrowing and everything, did actually lead to that. So as it stands, it's unclear whether that FTX or Sam have actually done anything wrong. So these articles do have very catchy titles across the board and everyone's kind of jumping on this one, but at the same time, do your own due diligence, do your own research, and understand that none of this is proven yet. And ultimately, it's just more negative stuff for people to cling on to in the media. And it's really, we need to avoid these kind of things, especially with the way that things have turned out with TFL. And a lot of people are now having to backpedal, whereas I've always stated from the very beginning to now that yes, something is fishy, and yes, something was up, and yes, something didn't happen, but we still need to wait for that correct audit. We still need to wait to prove and see proof and be shown proof to state that this is what happened, this is what the evidence points to, and this is how much was paid out. And we have had the first part of that audit. So currently, what else is going on? Well, the parameter change, which will more or less, to put it in the most bluntest of terms, it's going to boost the community pool so much, like by huge amounts, but the cost comes at this burn. So 50% of everything that's going to get burned from now on will now be reminted at the end of each epoch. That in itself, for a lot of people, seems absolutely insane, which in itself it is. And this is specifically why when we voted for this, it was done through three of us, because the HCC factory is built from three people, and it came down to a unanimous vote of no, for the simple fact that it would end up the rewards are far greater than what we have to, they're not as good as what we have to lose, to be quite honest. And we just don't know how Binance are going to react to this. But the reason why I'm speaking about this now is anybody can nullify this. Anybody can create a proposal to reverse everything that's been put in this. And if you go and look at the voting itself, it was very tight. It's 50-50. And ultimately, we do need funding for the community pool. And at the same time, we also have a community of people that like burning. They enjoy the burning aspect of things, and we always need to ensure that we are, you know, more or less covering all bases with proposals. But this is the beauty, and then also it can be sometimes a hindrance, because this is what governance is. That proposal was pretty much nearly 50-50 throughout the whole thing. It was very, very close to being yes or a no. And that's what decentralization's all about, because it was voted to down to its core. But that doesn't mean you can't nullify it. And that's the beauty of governance, once again, is that this can be nullified quite easily by anybody. And I'm sure there's a proposal up at the moment to counter this, but at the same time, what we lack in a lot of these is Oracle, the reward pool funding. Like, everyone's very, very interested in the community pool, but the interest in the Oracle reward pool is not as big as it should be. So if we go over to the Terra Classic community decks, and the people that this is brought forward by, I think one of them's Fafi, and I've secured a podcast episode with Fafi. I think that's happening this evening, and we're going to be talking about this decks, about what this means, about how this could change the burns. And this looks at not only refilling the Oracle rewards pool, you know, figuring out everything across the board. It also brings into play a hidden burn, and this hidden burn could be a game changer for the simple fact that we need a dex. And it's always good to look at the situations in hand and think to yourself, how can I provide solutions for the problems we have? Instead of creating more problems, try and create solutions, because that's what's going to solve things. That's what's going to excel us forward and move us upwards and get us to a better place. Instead of creating more problems for more people to fix, this solves so many problems. And then later on down the line, this is something I wanted to speak to Fafi about, is integrating this into the interchange system, for the simple fact that, you know, if this can get utilized on a very, very heavy scale, it could be very good for everybody across the board, because we needed X. It was similar to how we needed an auto compounding module. Yes, there are other dexes out there. Yes, there are other auto compounding modules out there like Eris and Kepler, but do we have an in-house module? Do we have an in-house dex? No. And these are the things that we needed. So, you know, looking really good. Little bit of information there about FTX and how I'm kind of thinking about this situation, and not trying to blow things up all the time and attribute to the chaos and panic that instills into people and stuff like that. A lot of people are also asking if, for example, you know, TFL is completely 100% innocent, they're scot-free, FTX did everything. What does this mean for USTC? Will this change things? Well, yeah, it could, and no, not really, because ultimately someone is going to have to take USTC and fix it. And by fixing it, they're going to need to collateralize it very heavily, repeg it, and then have enough liquidity to maintain the peg. It's not going to magically just shoot up, unless obviously some kind of FOMO situation kicks in where people get confused and think that it's automatically just going to go back up. I wouldn't say anything's going to happen, but the need for a algorithmic stable coin in the cosmos is heavily needed. And in itself, if the time comes, possibly, say, you know, this article is right and this person is guilty, then surely they're going to have to pay for, you know, messing everything up. They're going to have to pay out for everything, right? So we just don't know where this is going to lead. And this is kind of this idea of not blowing things up. So currently the undelegation mass panic that was happening has slowed down now. It is stabilizing and people are starting to redelegate coins. And this is really good, because a lot of it was confusion, misinformation, miscommunication, and then other people just blowing it up on YouTube and saying to people, it's over, it's finished, you need to move your coins off, this, that, and the other. Folks, stay safe. Don't trade on emotion. Trade on facts where you can. Beware of scammers. Beware of WhatsApp numbers and everything like that, and just stay safe. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'll catch you in the next one.